Welcome back to This Week in Nerd News. This is TWINN number 24, and in less than 5 minutes, I want to share with you some topics that we need to pay attention to in our industry of technology and cybersecurity. Today's first story is, unsurprisingly, about ransomware, but it's the hard truth about ransomware. It is written by Kevin Beaumont, who knows all aspects of this method of cybercrime, and it's well worth a read. Let me just leave you with this one paragraph. He writes, "We are rebuilding entire companies around technology while having some fundamental issues, reducing foundations to quicksand." And Kevin goes on to say that we are seeing a predictable crisis which hasn't yet near peaked. And we agree 100% with Kevin, and hence we must strengthen our proactive security posture. Finally, he goes on to say that ransomware is the risk of business having a heart attack, and the recovery is open heart surgery. So thank you for that picture, Kevin. Next, we have a story on one of the cyber criminals behind TrickBot. TrickBot is at the root of facilitating much of today's cybercrime, and we now know that it's a 55-year-old woman who identified herself as Max. It's quite a fascinating read on how darker interests develop in some very talented people. In this next story today, we find out how the FBI ran a secure phone network for criminals called Anom and amassed an impressive 20 million messages from over 11,800 devices that were used by suspected criminals. This is a major success for law enforcement, especially when you combine it with the fact that Phantom Secure and EncroChat were also shut down or compromised by law enforcement. Next, we have a story on how hackers can mess with HTTPS connections, and while it gets a little technical about how a man in the middle can be used to steal cookies or execute malware, it's also important to recognize that many such modern threats are completely mitigated when a security approach is done in layers. So in this case, as long as the attacker's website is blocked using some other mechanism, such as a security gateway, that's a very effective solution, and it's part of any zero trust network access approach. And in our last story of the day is about hackers used Slack to break into EA games, and this one is essentially about social engineering. So an employee was tricked over Slack to provide a login token, and this was one of the steps required in order for source code to be stolen for the FIFA 21 game. And it's just a story about social engineering will always be a threat and we need to continue to be vigilant and have each contractor and employee recognize that bits of data, what they can lead to in terms of a breach, and including executive as well. So that's it for today. Now, did you know that iOS 15 comes with a privacy relay feature? And this is still in developer beta, but while Apple's marketing at WWDC last week was spot on, it's what they did not say that's actually more interesting. So watch this space for a more detailed dive of my own, but suffice it to say that it's actually not a VPN. It's not DNS over HTTPS. It's actually a double relay. So first to Apple, and then the second part of the relay goes from Apple to a network partner, of which right now I've only experienced Cloudflare. So in any case, I look forward to sharing in more detail what it does and what it does not do. See you next week.